In the bustling streets of Metro City, where skyscrapers kissed the sky and neon lights blinked through the night, there existed a shadowy underworld that few knew of but many feared. The name the Revenant Syndicate was whispered in dark corners, feared and respected by those who dared to cross its path. It was said that the syndicate had its hands in every illegal operation the city could imagine in drug trafficking, extortion, arms smuggling, money laundering, and even politics. Their power was as vast as the ocean, and their reach extended into every level of society. At the heart of the syndicate was Marcus the Ghost Delacroix, a man who had climbed from the slums of the East End to become one of the most dangerous and elusive crime lords in the world. His reputation had earned him his chilling nickname, for like a ghost, he seemed to be everywhere and nowhere, always one step ahead of law enforcement, always disappearing into the shadows before anyone could catch him. But Delacroix wasn't born into the life of crime. He was the son of a struggling dockworker and a seamstress, both hard-working and honest people. As a boy, Marcus dreamed of escaping poverty, dreaming of becoming something more than his circumstances allowed. His intelligence was sharp, his ambition sharper. But the world wasn't kind to dreamers from the slums, and when his father died in a tragic accident, Marcus was forced to take matters into his own hands. It began with small-time hustles, stealing from cargo trucks down at the docks, running packages for local gangs, and slipping counterfeit bills into the hands of the city's lowlifes. Marcus learned quickly that in Metro City, there were two kinds of people, those who took what they wanted, and those who had everything taken from them. He decided early on that he would never be the latter. His rise in the underworld was meteoric. By the time he was 25, Marcus had orchestrated the takeover of several smaller crime outfits, consolidating power in ways that left no room for rebellion. His brilliance lay in his ability to balance ruthlessness with charm. To those he needed, Marcus was suave, calculated, a man who could promise the world and deliver. To those who crossed him, he was merciless. It wasn't long before the streets whispered his name in fear, and the Revenant Syndicate was born. At the height of its power, the syndicate's operations ran like a well-oiled machine. Drugs flowed through the city's veins like blood, from the poorest neighborhoods to the ritziest penthouses. Smuggled weapons found their way to every corner of the city's underbelly, fueling gang wars and corrupt political campaigns alike. And through it all, Marcus remained untouchable, no wiretap, no undercover agent, no bribed official could pin anything on him. But the real secret to his success wasn't just in his cunning or brutality. It was in the way he structured the syndicate. Marcus ruled like a king, but he empowered a council of lieutenants, each responsible for a different sector of the empire. There was Elena Moretti, the daughter of an old mafia family who controlled the syndicate's money laundering operations, cleaning dirty cash through high-end casinos and art galleries. There was Victor the Wolf Ivanov, an ex-military tactician who ran the syndicate's arms trade, bringing in military-grade weapons from Eastern Europe. And then there was Lucas Silk Ramirez, a smooth-talking diplomat who handled the syndicate's political connections, bribing officials and keeping the heat off their operations. Together, they made the syndicate an unstoppable force. But power breeds enemies, and Marcus's rise did not go unnoticed. Across the city, Detective Sarah Lawson had made it her personal mission to bring down the Revenant Syndicate. For years, she had watched as her city fell deeper into the grip of organized crime, as families were torn apart by drugs, violence, and corruption. But the more she dug, the more she realized that the syndicate was not just another gang, it was a machine, too big, too connected, too clever to bring down by normal means. Lawson had grown up in Metro City, the daughter of a cop who had been killed in the line of duty when she was just a girl. She had joined the force with the hope of cleaning up the streets, but as the years passed, she found herself up against a system that was either too corrupt or too afraid to fight back. The Revenant Syndicate had tentacles that stretched into the police force itself, and Sarah had learned the hard way not to trust anyone. But she was relentless. Over the years, Lawson had managed to gather a small team of like-minded detectives, prosecutors, and even a couple of rogue FBI agents, all with the same goal: bring down Marcus Delacroix and his empire. They worked in the shadows, just like the syndicate, piecing together bits of evidence, following the money, flipping low-level members to gather intelligence. Still, no matter how hard they tried, Marcus always seemed to be just out of reach. Informants disappeared, leads went cold, and every time they thought they had a breakthrough, it slipped through their fingers. Marcus had eyes and ears everywhere, and even the smallest hint of a threat was dealt with swiftly and brutally. But Lawson wasn't about to give up. After years of investigation, she and her team finally uncovered something big, something that could bring Marcus Delacroix down for good. One of his most trusted lieutenants, Lucas Silk Ramirez, had been skimming money off the top of their political bribes, hiding millions in offshore accounts. Lawson knew that if she could turn Ramirez, they could get to Marcus. But it was a dangerous play. If Marcus found out, Ramirez would be dead before he could utter a single word. Sarah's team worked quickly, setting up a sting operation. They cornered Ramirez in a luxury hotel downtown, offering him a deal immunity in exchange for everything he knew about the syndicate. Faced with the prospect of being exposed as a traitor, Ramirez caved. He spilled everything: names, dates, bank accounts, drug shipments, and the inner workings of the syndicate. It was the break they needed. But when Marcus learned of the betrayal, his reaction wasn't rage, it was cold, calculating silence. He didn't scream or lash out. Instead, he made his move. Within hours, Elena Moretti was found dead in her mansion, an accident that looked suspiciously like a setup. Viktor Ivanov vanished, likely fleeing the country before Marcus could get to him. And Lucas Ramirez, the man who thought he had escaped, was found in his hotel room with his throat slit, a chilling reminder that no one betrayed Marcus Delacroix and lived to tell the tale. Despite the Syndicate's crumbling leadership, Marcus remained elusive. The evidence they had gathered was enough to take down a dozen smaller operations, but Marcus himself had already disappeared into the night, leaving Metro City behind. The Revenant Syndicate was wounded, but not dead. Sarah Lawson stood in the rain, watching the city skyline, knowing that somewhere out there, Marcus was watching too, biding his time, waiting for the moment to rise again.